The reality checks didn't work. The songs didn't work. I am now in the basement because my house might be crushed in another world. This morning in AP Psychology, I was thinking about how Daisy's illness and my stepfather's absence might mean something's wrong with the house. He hit the computer container for no reason. Crush. I asked myself when. He wiped the number 12 on a board. Today is the 12th. Even if it doesn't happen in this world, it'll happen in hell, where normal rules of logic don't apply. Madness is just a strong connection to hell. I think I inherited it from my mom. My second self will suffer the house crush. It's torture. If not for myself, then for her, I want to do this. She is where I am. She is my responsibility now. I'm sleeping in the basement tonight, and I bought myself a knife from Canadian Tire so I can keep it around without Mom noticing one of the kitchen knives is missing. I can't bring it to school, though. I'd be expelled if anyone found it. I'm not going to see a fucking shrink. They laugh from money. They couldn't care less if I even drove the knife into my own guts. I just have to get through this like last time and try to hide how scared and tired I feel. I think I finally understand why this is happening to me. When this happens, I connect to myself in hell and I mind control her, though I only get glimpses of her situation through occasional telepathy. She tries to get my attention with hallucinations. That's all psychosis is. A rare connection to that hellish, awful world. But I think I might be the first to make sense of it. Hi. I'm Cyber Yamu, or Yamu for short, and I believe that if you are watching this video right now, that's no coincidence. I'm not going to spout some bullshit about how you need to buy my product, but I do believe that my video will be shown to the people who need to see it. And also plenty of people who just call me crazy, but I do believe there are people out there who need to hear my story. And so I am telling it tonight. I want to let you all into my world, but in order for me to be able to do that, you have to accept my invitation. So, if there is one thing that I can ask for you to do while watching this video that I made, it's to try to understand how I was feeling. So, sit back and enjoy the show. For about 2 years, I was experiencing full-blown psychosis, though not acute psychosis, I'll get into that later, and nobody around me noticed. There were signs, there were things that people noticed were odd, but nobody noticed that I was going insane until I truly snapped. Over those 2 years, I tried my best to hide what I was experiencing, but every day was turmoil in psychosis. It wasn't every day, it came in episodes that usually lasted about a month or 2 weeks. But every time it came, it caused devastation within me. The whole thing started when I was 15. It was the COVID-19 pandemic, and I was in my apartment. I was living with my mom. This was soon after we had escaped my abusive stepfather. And I had moved into a new neighborhood, and I started going to a new school. Well, that didn't give me much opportunity to make friends before the COVID-19 lockdowns started. So I had no friends. Not that I probably would have made any if I had any more time, because I was not very socially skilled. So I was on my own. I had no friends, and my mom went to work and we barely talked even when she was home. So I was alone in an apartment doing online schooling for 2 years. In those 2 years, my mind completely unraveled. It started with daydreaming and disorganization. So my sleep schedule during the lockdown became extremely erratic. I started sleeping throughout the day and pretending to pay attention to my Zoom classes. And I would stay up at night and I would play games and I would daydream. I started daydreaming constantly, every hour of every waking day. Every day of every waking hour, I don't know. I was daydreaming. A bunch of fantasies, about, I don't even remember anymore. About my favorite shows, my favorite video games, just little stories I invented in my head. I lived in those stories, and I became extremely invested in them. I could feel that my mind was breaking down. I started feeling desperately lonely, which I have felt very rarely in my life because I'm very much a loner. I desperately wanted to connect to people, so I joined some online groups, but I found them all to be unsatisfying. I didn't feel like I could connect to anybody there. And the one time that a girl did approach me, during a rare in-person class, because occasionally we had in-person classes for important lectures, and we wore masks during those lectures. She approached me and she asked me if I wanted to hang out after school. And I was over the moon. I said, yeah, I would love to, but a few minutes after that happened, her friend whispered something in her ear and she approached me and said, actually, sorry, we're busy. So that didn't work out. I went home and I cried because I felt like people didn't approach me because I was a weirdo. And then one day I woke up and I felt that something was different. Something was not quite right. Nothing around me felt real. The people, none of them felt real. I started getting really into philosophy and thinking that I was the only sentient being in the universe. So I turned to solipsism. But it wasn't a choice. I truly could not believe that the people around me were sentient. And the world didn't feel real either. And that caused a great deal of distress in me. It made me feel terrible. And I kept trying to find an explanation for the way that I was feeling. Eventually, I decided that I was being experimented on by creatures from the fourth dimension, and that the escape from this dimension, the solution, was in a rope. And I almost got to that point, but I ended up not doing so. This was one of the most psychologically distressing psychotic episodes I ever experienced, but I didn't end up really doing anything because of it. I got close with the rope, but I didn't do anything, which is a small mercy. And unfortunately, as time passed, I became more and more active during my psychotic episodes, but this one might have lasted 2 months, I think, but after that it sort of faded and I kind of returned to normalcy. I didn't really document this episode. I just kind of let it pass and I hoped that that would be it. But it wasn't. It got much, much worse from that point forward. A few months later, it came back. At that point, the lockdown had ended and we were back to class. I had started high school and things were looking good. I was enjoying my classes, I liked my teachers. But then one morning in my AP psychology class, things started going wrong again. But it didn't start there. It started with me feeling off once again. I started feeling like something was wrong. And apparently this feeling, the technical term for it is dysphoria, where you just feel like something is not quite right. And this is what I wrote. The title of this entry is Reality Check 2. Oh wait, I must have had a first one then. Okay, this is Reality Check 1. Okay. For context, Daisy, I will mention Daisy in this. Daisy was my stepfather's dog, and I really didn't like her because she was not well trained, and she brought me a lot of distress. Anyways, Reality Check 1. The date is, Gosh, I'm not good with dates. This was October 9th of 2023. Daisy is not looking at you more than normal, and if she is, it's because she's a dumb dog. She's just stupid. No thoughts running through that empty head of hers. I am being stupid and irrational. The belt is fastening around my chest again. I can't let it get the better of me. All this leads to is despair and wasted mental effort. You just have to sleep this off and you'll be fine. Your family aren't in on it. They're just assholes with no personality. Your friends are real. You'll see tomorrow. You'll get on the bus home, feel the wind in your hair, and see that life is beautiful. This is a beautiful moment. You're just confused. I feel better. And at the bottom of the page, I wrote a little poem describing my experience. Like a flame, you draw me in, rhythmically blinking eyes on once of horror, beckoning me further. I fall over your precipice into the familiar abyss. And then I wrote a second reality check entry. It's all in your head, dear. It's all in your head, dear. It's all in your head, dear. Over and over and over again. See, you feel better already. You just threw yourself in for a loop. You can always count on me to cut you out of it. Love, your brain. Though the truth may vary, this ship will carry our bodies safe to shore. We'll see if anybody can recognize that lyric. Probably somebody from my generation. It was really popular when I was a kid. And here's the next entry, titled Shit One. The reality checks didn't work. The songs didn't work. I am now in the basement because my house might be crushed in another world. This morning in AP Psychology, I was thinking about how Daisy's illness and my stepfather's absence might mean something's wrong with the house. He hit the computer container for no reason. Crush. I asked myself when. He wiped the number 12 on the board. Today is the 12th. Even if it doesn't happen in this world, it'll happen in hell, where normal rules of logic don't apply. Madness is just a strong connection to hell. I think I inherited it from my mom. My second self will suffer the house crush. It's torture. If not for myself, then for her, I want to do this. She is where I am. She is my responsibility now. I'm sleeping in the basement tonight, and I bought myself a knife from Canadian Tire so I can keep it around without Mom noticing one of the kitchen knives is missing. I can't bring it to school, though. I'd be expelled if anyone found it. I'm not going to see a fucking shrink. They laugh for money. They couldn't care less if I even drove the knife into my own guts. I just have to get through this like last time and try to hide how scared and tired I feel. I think I finally understand why this is happening to me. When this happens, I connect to myself in hell, and I mind control her, though I only get glimpses of her situation through occasional telepathy. She tries to get my attention with hallucinations. That's all psychosis is. A rare connection to that hellish, awful world. But I think I might be the first to make sense of it. Famous last words. Anybody who's experienced psychosis knows that line. So basically what had happened is I had gone to class, and my first class was AP Psychology. And I thought, for some strange reasons, I think I listed them in the entry, but I can't explain them much better here. Basically, some innocuous actions he took made me believe that my house was going to be crushed by a meteor at midnight. And I was quite worried, but I also got a knife because I wasn't quite sure if it was going to be crushed by a meteor or if there was going to be a home invasion. I thought it was going to be one of the two. I decided to sleep in the basement so that if there was an asteroid hitting my house, well, I figured it would hit the roof first, so I had a bit more of a chance. I also left the house right before midnight, just so that if it did get destroyed, then, I wouldn't be in the house. And, after that, I calmed down again. My mom noticed me taking my duvet downstairs, and she asked me what I was doing, and I told her the truth. And she calmed me down and she made me feel better. And she chalked it up to anxiety because of me starting high school. Yeah, so that's how that went. And once more, for a few months, I had peace. But once more, it came back worse than ever. This time, it came back sooner. On the 23rd of October, I wrote that I had 14 hours sleep. Yesterday, though I'd gotten adequate sleep the night before, I found myself unable to find the energy even to shower. I fell asleep at 5:30 and slept until 7. I woke up many times, either when a dream ended or when a nightmare roused me. In one dream, I was walking home. Daisy was in the front yard growling at me. In my fear, I climbed onto the car roof so she couldn't touch me. It was raining. My stepfather opened the door from inside the house. I told him I was scared. He called me a histrionic. Everybody knows what you're doing. I cried and ran away and into a big white box. My stepbrother chased after me, probably to get me to come back home. I could hear him follow me into the cube. I ran upstairs and hid in the wooden closet of a bedroom, where I was quite sure he wouldn't find me. Then I woke up. The exhaustion hasn't ceased, and it's only 8. I'll finish this entry on Saturday after Halloween event and my friend's sleepover. Today, it is the 20th. I got tired writing my last entry and went to sleep. I immediately had an awful nightmare where Nurse Ratched shot me in the belly. I've always been able to feel pain in dreams. That one was utter agony. I woke up with shaking fingers and sweat. My face in the mirror was one of pure horror. I texted to my friends about my dream on impulse. They weren't mean to me, but I can tell they don't care. Not even when I said I might be hearing voices. What a lonely existence. And then, it was the 23rd. I don't know why. I don't understand the dating of these entries. I assume that 3 days passed. This is all personal stuff, so I am not going to read it. Right. Satan has left me alone for a while, thank God. And when/if he returns to torment me, I'll have God for guidance, protection, and comfort in all his love and beauty. So at this point, I had converted to Christianity. I had this little paranoid thought that maybe it was Satan that made me so tired a while ago. My period is a week late, but I'm a virgin. I wondered for a time if my nightmares and belly pain meant Satan assaulted me in my sleep and that I am now pregnant with his child. But I have faith that God would never allow that. I need to have more faith in my Savior. I'm glad, though, that I have my knife from Canadian Tire laying to the side of my desk that acts as a bedside table. What followed is really graphic and honestly really personal and gross, so I can't really share it on YouTube, but basically I experienced my most intense psychotic episode yet, in which I became convinced that I had a chip in my body or that I was pregnant with the child of Satan. So I took a box cutter and I cut 1 inch deep into my belly. It took about an hour for me to get that deep because I only made shallow cuts. And yeah, I planned to go deeper, but in the end I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't. And in the end it kind of healed, and I have a scar now on my belly, and that's all that came of that. And I moved on once more. After that, my psychosis developed even more, but the way it developed this time is that I was not just experiencing psychotic symptoms during episodes. I also became deeply schizotypal. Now, I've always had traits of the schizotypal personality profile, like being very imaginative, introverted, like kind of a dreamer. But at this point, I started to experience paranoia in between episodes, and I noted it down here. I hate everyone who keeps taunting me. I'm still avoiding Mom and my stepfather. I can't let myself grow corrupted by their auras. They made me eat dinner with them, though. It was delicious, but I felt the whole time that they were staring at me, speaking about me in code, about how they'll eat me alive and Daisy will help. Fuck this. I want to write something. An indescribable feeling has come over me. Kind of bad. It's heavy in my belly. I'm trying to imagine how I'd see this if my brain was normal, but it's like there's a mental block preventing me from doing so. It's strange to put myself in the shoes of my past self. My mind seesaws from joy and despair about the way that I am thinking, but I wish I had the choice. I wish the mental block was removable once in a while. This bullshit has consumed all my mental energy. Fuck. I might be mentally ill. I'm fucking mentally ill. This shit isn't normal. There's no fucking justification, no easy explanation, except that I am fucked in the head. Fuck. And I repeated that many times. Maybe I should just tell the psychologist the truth. Just for penance. Just for a bit of normalcy, a bit of sanity, some common sense. So what was going on is I had a lot of conflict at home. I was not assimilating well into the new family with my new stepfather and his son. And my mom believed that I had high-functioning autism because of my social difficulties at the time and because of my rebelliousness. And so she decided to get me checked by a psychologist for autism. And my plan was that I would tell the psychologist the truth about what I was going through, and he would help me somehow. But unfortunately, my mom was with me for most of the evaluation. When she was gone, I tried to tell the psychologist what was really going on, but he told me that I probably was just experiencing hormones. So that didn't help either. And at that point, I ran out of space in my notebook. I actually mostly wrote about completely unrelated things. I wrote about poetry and my thoughts on the world, and it was also my outlet for my psychotic symptoms. After that, it became a whole different ballgame. I started making notes with a manifesto that I pasted around town with my blood on it. And I wrote a letter to a principal about how there was this girl behind a radiator that was a portal to hell, and I could hear her, and there were rats everywhere, you know. And they notified my mother, and that was when she found out that I was psychotic. It took her 2 years. At that point, I was 17. After that, I was hospitalized for the first time because I kept posting up those notes, and I left at 3 in the morning without shoes on in order to pace them around. So I stayed in the youth psych ward. I have a video on my experience with psych wards if you want to check that out. It's called Grippy Sock Jail. After that, my psychotic symptoms eased up a little, I think. Yeah, I think that was the bulk of my psychosis, honestly. Nowadays, I think I am more schizotypal than schizophrenic, while back then I probably was schizophrenic. What was unique in my case was that I was able to hide it. Most people, when they are in psychosis, are completely incapable of hiding it. They act very obviously psychotic, but I was able to hide my psychotic thoughts. And that's probably because I never experienced acute psychosis. I never experienced severe hallucinations. I never completely lost my grip on reality. So for example, where a person in acute psychosis might think that the world is ending and is confused that other people don't understand, I would feel that the world is ending and I have to hide it from people because if they know, then something bad will happen. So in a sense, I always maintained control over myself up till that point, but it also kind of made it worse because I had to suffer in silence. I didn't get medication. I didn't get therapy. I didn't even get a diagnosis. To this day, my only diagnosis is unspecified psychotic disorder because every psychiatrist who has seen me has refused to evaluate me further for a more concrete diagnosis. But nowadays, I am better able to manage my symptoms, or rather, they're just less severe now. Nowadays, I have a lot of magical beliefs, but the difference now is that they don't consume me and they don't they don't lead me to destroy my life over them. So that's a nice improvement. But here's the crux of the video. I know that at least one of the people who watch this video will be in a similar situation that I once was in. And I'm not saying it'll be identical, but I do know that there are many people out there experiencing psychotic symptoms and suffering in silence because of the stigma associated with psychosis. If I had been feeling depressed, I would have felt a lot less scared to tell people, but what I was scared of is that people would think I'm crazy. I was terrified of the idea of telling people what was happening, only for those symptoms to cease, and then I would look like an idiot. So, to whoever needs to hear this, you need to trust your gut. I knew from the very first day that something was wrong. I should have listened to it. So, I don't know what your circumstances, I don't know whether you can get help in terms of medication or diagnosis, but certainly if you are experiencing psychosis that is distressing or impairing your functioning, you need to find some sort of support. Because psychosis is one of those few conditions that if you have it, it can very quickly snowball into something extremely dangerous, both to yourself and potentially to others. But moreover, I hope that my story serves as evidence that you can get through this. I thought so many times that I would not be able to get through it, and I did. And you know what? This isn't the only bad thing that happened during those years. I was being abused. At one point, I became homeless. I was institutionalized, and yet I'm here. And I am spreading my word to anybody who will listen. So please, invite me into your mind so that I can show you what there is. I think that's all for today. Thank you for listening. Cyber Yama out. Bye bye.